Hey everybody, it's Kevin from Twin Talk, and today we're going to be talking all about Blue Beetle. Stick around to the end of the episode to see how our drawing of Blue Beetle came out. And if you like what you see, subscribe to the channel for more content. Blue Beetle is the unofficial first film of James Gunn's new DC universe. It's kind of one of those transition movies from the old DCEU with like Shazam, Fury of the Gods, Blue Beetle, Aquaman 2. They're kind of in limbo and we're kind of just taking it, rolling with it after what The Flash did of retconning the DC universe. Technically, Superman Legacy will be the first movie in James Gunn's DC universe, but for what it was, I think there was quick hints to Batman, Superman, The Flash being mentioned very briefly, but this was a very self-contained story and a very simple, nothing spectacular, but definitely very solid for a character that, myself included, not many people know about, generally speaking. The title character, Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes, the actor, I hope I'm saying this right too, Jolo Mariduena, he did a very, very good job. A very genuine, likable kid, who's in his early 20s, transitioning from college to trying to formulate his career, maybe a love life. A very coming-of-age story of a boy figuring out what it takes to be a man. He's got a lot of great help with the Reyes family, the Familia man. George Lopez was excellent as Jorge Lopez in this movie. This guy is absolutely hamming it up. It's George Lopez with the beard, man, the beard. We know he's concerned about documents. We know that he's obviously a convict, maybe a past gangbanger, but he was definitely a lot of the laugh-out-loud moments of this movie. I loved every second of the film that he was in it because he just absolutely ate it up every time he was on screen. Nana with the freaking Halo turret was absolutely amazing in this film. She was so cool, so funny, and a lot of moments, to my family with the Spanish culture, my mother's side, my grandma Wita, she passed away, but so many moments in this movie where I was like leaning over laughing because it hit so close to home about the Spanish culture. I guess it was advertised as like the first Latin superhero for DC, so that was very cool. It was very cool to see that representation done well also in a very simple but sweet story. But I can't say enough great things about this family, the Reyes family. I cannot wait to see them again in the further DC universe. A lot of heart-to-heart moments with the father who unfortunately tragically passes away. That was an emotional moment in the movie where I almost got a little teary-eyed, I gotta say. Very well-directed movie. I love the vibrance that it has, the whole blue and purple color scheme working for it. Very broad daylight. The suit, oh my god, the suit looks so good. A lot of it is practical and not so much CGI heavy or reliant. It really shows in the believability of the suit and the functionality of everything. It's definitely comic book accurate. It's right off the comic book pages. And it reminded me a lot of this symbiotic relationship, almost of like Venom, where he's hearing voices in his head that only he can hear, trying to figure it out and learn these learning curves of what the suit is capable of. Almost like the movie Star Kid. I don't know if anyone remembers that. My brother-in-law Mike remembers that. Shout out to him. That was an incredible 90s film. Looking back, it's probably not as great as I remembered, but at the time, it was everything I wanted it to be. And this kind of reminded me of it, of like a young kid coming in contact with this alien species that, they kind of formulate a bond throughout the film. By the end, I forgot what the alien's name was, Kaji or something. It's speaking Spanish to him, and they're really learning how to be in sync with each other, and that was a lot of fun to see. Some of my favorite moments is when he's learning and seeing how much capabilities the suit has with all the weapons. It's almost like Green Lantern, where she's like, anything you can imagine, I can create. So that is extremely powerful and very useful. But the suit isn't just doing all the heavy lifting. This main character, Jaime Reyes, is very engaging to watch between the family dynamics, just how genuine he seems. I'm rooting for the guy. His acting chops are great. The chemistry between Jenny Cord was very palpable. I was rooting for that too. I was like, kiss that girl. And speaking of this whole Ted Cord reference, we get an end credits sequence going into a sequel of showcasing the OG Blue Beetle, almost in this like Hank Pym, Ant-Man and the Wasp type way, where Jaime Reyes is dating the daughter, Jenny Cord. It's almost like that Hope Van Dyne, Scott Lang type element. So that's something that's been done before, but it's going to be cool to see DC approach it with their characters. It felt very Owlman. It felt very Adam West Batman with this whole superhero lair, which I love. I gotta say, Warner Brothers does such a good job with the costumes, with the set pieces. You really feel like you could visit the studios and live and breathe in this meticulously designed sets between even Shazam's lair, this Blue Beetle lair, all the suits. You just see there's a lot of care in this craft being done, and I really appreciate that. There's a lot good to say about this movie. The only thing that really underwhelmed me was some story beats we've seen in other movies, but it works. It's stereotypical. It's kind of predictable at times, but it's just simple and effective enough that it's like less is more, so it works. Really what suffers for the movie for me is the OMAC, the Jack Kirby DC character. That was a cool reference, but it's just kind of another typical, like almost like Megatron, Whiplash type villain, some guy in a mech suit that's kind of just like this mindless henchman for, I guess, the overall villain, Victoria Cord, who's like a representation of American imperialism, maybe white privilege with Susan Sarandon, who she did a good job. You know, she's a very recognizable actress, but it just felt very shallow, almost in that like Avatar way, where it's just like, all right, we've seen this villain done before, not much to it, not a lot of meat and potatoes, but they at least try in the climax with, I forget the guy's name, the henchman guy, that his memories were wiped and he was kind of a Spanish victim of the imperialism and the Cord Industries kind of coming in, bombing his home, taking it over, and him suffering through that, and yet having to respect and join by force this like one-man army corps. So they at least try to give us a backstory in like 3.5 seconds towards the end. It works enough, but the villain is definitely the weakest aspect of this film. There is a good hero moment of Jaime Reyes stopping, enacting revenge at the end of killing this poor guy, and restrains himself, and I appreciated that of the hero aspect. You actually cared in that moment about the fight a little bit more, instead of just this cool looking alien tech fest. There was a little bit of story elements in gear at that moment. And I like how the family kind of rallied together. I really felt Nana's passion, her I really wanted to get back at Cord Industries for what they did for taking our home, taking our dad. It wasn't the time to cry, and I like that whole almost macho, get it together, put on your boots, let's go to work type attitude. And they had a lot to do in the third act, actually, between the bug mobile, I'm calling it, that giant scarab vehicle, which was really a lot of fun, with Kickstart My Heart playing. That's always a great time. But all the gadgets they had from Ted Cord, this almost like 90s bop it looking tech, you know, like a Nickelodeon type watch that is mixed with alien species, was really cool to see. I want to explore more of that, but they had something to do. They weren't just helpless in the grand finale, so that was a lot of fun as well, of them working together. I am hoping to see a little bit more of space exploration with Blue Beetle. I know he's, you know, with the alien. Maybe we can go back into that backstory, see what Ted Cord's been up to, play around with that. So I'm excited. I'm definitely intrigued enough with a character that I was very unfamiliar with to take it, roll with it. I don't even care if it's in the DCEU or the new James Gunn universe. I like the character. I want to see more of him. And I would actually even love to see him eventually play around with maybe the Teen Titans or the Justice League or something like that. So I'm all in. My favorite scene, it was in the trailers a lot, but it was that learning to fly, the first flight type moment. I'm always a sucker for that. The learning curve it takes reminds me of Iron Man's first flight, when he's kind of like doing things wrong, just testing his limits, seeing what he's capable of, and at the mercy of this alien tech. That was kind of cool. Like, I felt like I was on the journey with Jaime Reyes. Overall, I had a lot of fun with this movie. It was simple but effective. Nothing mind-blowing, but interesting and entertaining enough for me to buy into the family, to buy into the Blue Beetle lore, and just a likable hero with the actor. I'm giving this thing an 8 out of 10. What did you guys think about Blue Beetle? Let us know in the comments below. Anyways, that about wraps up today's episode of Twin Talk. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment below to join the discussion, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content. We'll see you next time. Peace!